hope that you are well. I hope things are going good. A few weeks ago, I posted a video about how to read more, and in that video, I alluded to another video that you are watching today, and you know what it's about if you've read the title. But I'm going to be pointing out like the benefits, the negatives, all of like the different facets of the different ways to read books. It's something that I have learned a lot about in the last year, and I want to share that knowledge with people even if they didn't ask for it. Disclaimer, this is not at all like all of the information. There's a whole lot of things that can impact someone's reading. For instance, disability, socioeconomic status, your access to things, just a whole lot of different things can impact on this. So just want to put that out there. I'm fully aware of all of that. However, this is just like my personal opinion of how these things go, and Jared's, because I asked him before I started filming this video. So I will be talking in this video about 3 different formats of reading. We have physical books, ebooks, and audiobooks. I'm someone who, as a child and as a growing teenager, adolescent, was adamant that I would never get a Kindle, I would never read ebooks, I would never listen to audiobooks. They weren't real reading. It's embarrassing looking back on it now. However, in the pandemic, I discovered that ebooks and audiobooks are actually fantastic, valuable resources for everyone, despite your disability, socioeconomic status, all of that stuff. Obviously, these formats are going to be more suited to some people than others. For instance, if you have a learning disability and you can't, like your visual perception is really bad, audiobooks might be better for you. Or if you have vision impairment, audiobooks might be better for you. If you are hearing impaired, physical reading and ebooks are going to be better for you. Like, there's obviously all those different things as well that are going to impact. So take this with a grain of salt. I have rambled enough. Let's just jump into the video. I'm first going to be talking about physical books. These things right here. The positives of physical books. They look good. For starters, they're very aesthetically pleasing, and they also smell good, which is just another bonus as well. I am also one of those people that buying books is a separate hobby to reading books, and I am very like aware of the privilege that I have to be able to buy books and to be able to put a portion of my money towards that. I find it quite hilarious that that's a positive for books, but you know, we're moving on from that. Another positive for books, it makes it, when you have a physical object in front of you, it makes it so much easier to set aside time to spend with that object. You could probably say the same of like a Kindle, but if you're reading on your phone or on a tablet, there's other connotations that come along with that. So I find that when you're reading a book, you can put your attention on that thing. It's a physical thing that you can focus on, and that is really wonderful. I find that super, super helpful sometimes, and like I kind of need it sometimes as well to get away from life. Another thing that I found really a positive experience in books is that you're able to go forwards and backwards very easily. Not as easy with the electronic versions of reading. And also it allows you to look at maps. Say for instance you have a fantasy series and you have a map at the start of the book. You don't need to lose your place in your ebook to be able to actually see the map and know where you are in that world. And the last positive that I can like think of off the top of my head for physical book is that you can annotate them and you can write in them. I've only recently started annotating, but I think that there is a huge benefit in it to be able to have your thoughts at the time inside of the book, and it helps to focus a lot more on the reading as well. So that's like my positive for books. The negatives, obviously, they're heavy, they're cumbersome, they're really hard to move when you move a lot. They take up a lot of space if that's something that you don't have a lot of. They're expensive as well. Like, I don't know about the rest of the world, but books in Australia are expensive, and aside from like the obvious like reading stuff, they're not accessible for everyone. So that's my take on books. Ebooks, however, are something that I have recently discovered, recently found, recently started getting into. I actually read my ebooks primarily through library apps. Now, I don't know where you are in the world or what mode of communication device or electronics you have, but a lot of local libraries will have an electronic library as well, and in that you can actually borrow ebooks and audiobooks from, which is something that took my reading to the next level last year. and the year before. It was like, it blew my mind that I could for free borrow a book and have it on my phone immediately and then give it back when I was done. Like, it was wild. So the apps that I use the most frequently are BorrowBox, Access 360, Cloud Library, ePlatform I think is the other one. The Libby in my city is not that good, but I know that in other places of the world Libby is also very good. There are so many. Usually the library websites and stuff will tell you which ones they have a decent e-library for. So my take on e-libraries, fantastic, love them, can't rave enough about them. Ebooks themselves, I have only recently started reading ebooks, and the biggest positive that I have found with them is that it helps me to separate the different books that I'm reading. So if I'm reading a physical book, an ebook and an audiobook, I can comfortably read 3 books at once because they're separate formats, so they hold different spaces in my mind. As well, because I read them on my phone, I don't have a specific Kindle, so this might be different if you have a Kindle, but I find that it is so much easier to just pull your phone out and read wherever you are. Like say for instance, if you're at like a family gathering and you're there by yourself and everyone else is on their phones, you can just read without looking super rude about it, even though it's the same thing as reading a book in public. But I mean, it be what it be. Ebooks are so much easier to manage, to store, as long as you've got like obviously the data space for it. You can increase and decrease the text and font if you need to, which is fantastic. That's something that you can't do with books obviously. And they're much easier to see the stats when you're reading. So I know specifically on the Kindle app you can see how long approximately it's going to take you to finish reading the book based on your page reading speed, how many pages you have left, what percentage of the way you are through the book. Just much easier to look at the stats. Not super necessary all the time, but nice to have either way. But definitely the 2 biggest positives for ebooks are the fact that they're super accessible. Like, you can have them immediately, no matter where you are. Like Kindle, you can buy a book and have it just there, ready to read, ready to go. I think that there is something to be said about spending $17 on a book that is just data. But I also am aware of supporting authors where we can and not contributing to waste in the world as well. And finally, the love of my life, audiobooks. Again, aside from the obvious, audiobooks are literally just like someone reading you a story. If that is not the most like humble, calming thing that you can do, I don't know what is. I started listening to audiobooks in the start of the pandemic, and the biggest positive for audiobooks that myself and Jared have actually agreed on is the fact that you don't have to actually read the book. It's a very passive form of ingesting a story, which I find fantastic. I find audiobooks really, really fantastic for people who are on the go all the time. So if you drive a lot in your day-to-day life, or if you do a lot of kind of like monotonous repetitive tasks like cleaning or organizing, things that don't require a huge amount of brain space and executive function, it's really good for those kind of things. I personally listen to audiobooks when I am walking, when I am exercising, when I am working, when I am cleaning. Every spare moment that I have when I'm by myself and doing something that doesn't require my brain, I'm probably listening to an audiobook at that time. So I find audiobooks are fantastic specifically for that reason. But other positives to audiobooks are that they are able to be increased and decreased in speed depending on your ability to take in information, which is amazing. I personally listen to things on minimum 1.5 speed because my brain moves very fast. And finally, Jared wanted me to let you know that he personally prefers audiobooks because they give more of an immersion into the story and the world, which is further embellished by things like having a full cast when you're like listening to an audiobook, or if they have like ambient sounds in the background. Like, there's so many different things that you can do to enhance the audiobook listening experience that makes it so good. However, downsides for audiobooks, again, similar to ebooks, you're spending $17 on something that is data. In my experience, I've had an audiobook library and then cancelled my Audible subscription and then got a new phone and then lost my entire library because it wasn't transferred over in the change. So all of the books that I had bought previously, I could no longer purchase, which not great, but it is what it is. And I guess to combat the positives that I was talking about, if you do have a lot of other things happening in the background, or if maybe you don't take in audio information as well as visual, then perhaps audiobooks may not be for you. But I personally have loved listening to audiobooks. I think they're fantastic. Just the passive ingestion of a story, like, it's so good. But I wanted to kind of round out this little video by talking about how powerful adding a few of these different combinations of reading together can be. So in the past, I have actually listened to an audiobook and read at the same time, provided that the speed is right. That sounds like my sister. Do you want to come say hi? This is my sister. Hi. Bye. I also at times will read an ebook, and then if it runs out, like in my library app, I'll then read the physical book if I have it. That is a benefit of that, because otherwise I also have learned with library apps that sometimes if you borrow a book and you don't finish it and it goes away, you can't get it back again, which is just silly. But that is all that I have to discuss in terms of my format review today for you. Let me know in the comments what your favorite format is for reading, and if you have any other benefits and negatives for any of these, because as I said, that is not even close to all of them. But that is all, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye! 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 Bye.